I'll start playing.
No, please hold on. We've started the webinar.
Within Bhutan, I would say that entrepreneurship is now growing,
It's a buzzing topic. There's a lot of other offices and stakeholders who are coming in, trying to understand entrepreneurship, trying to understand what our youths would be interested in.
BCG just projected Bangladesh to become a $1 trillion economy. PwC has projected that by 2030 and by 2060, India is going to be bigger than the US. That's something, right? We talk about regional blocks, but I think South Asia as a block is definitely very, very powerful.
Hello, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome for the first session of the third edition of ANDE South Asia Convening. Thank you so much for making the time. Before I quickly hand over to Anu, our awesome moderator for this first session, a quick reminder that we have two other sessions coming up today. Next slide, please. You will see on the slides that at 3 p.m. we have the Venture Studio debate. And following that at 6 p.m. IST, we have the final session for today around future-proofing SMEs, the power of digital infrastructure. Please do join us. The same link that you've used to join us here, you can use to join us on these sessions. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you have a wonderful 3 days learning and connecting. With that, Anuji, over to you to take the session away.
Thank you so much, Suchitra. It's a pleasure to be here in this platform, and I'm very, very glad. ICIMOD has been in partnership with ANDE South Asia Convening since last 2 years now, and I'm very, very glad that we're coming together for a cause which is so very important. And I think, like, for ICIMOD, it is also important to have this kind of network of people who would come together with the same value, with the same vision, and with vigor. So I would say, like, 3 V's to connect all of us together. Just to get you the background of what we want to do and, like, what we are. I'm Anu Joshi Shrestha from ICIMOD. And at ICIMOD, what we really like to do is basically protect the Hindu Kush Himalayas in terms of really, like, working for mountains and people. So Hindu Kush Himalayan region stretches till 3,500 kilometers across Asia, spanning 8 countries: Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, China, Myanmar, Nepal, and Pakistan, encompassing high altitude mountain region amidst hill, plains and zones that are vital for food, water, and energy security of up to 2 billion people. It is also acute, fragile, and vulnerable to the impact of triple planetary crisis of climate change, pollutions, and biodiversity loss. ICIMOD is established in 1983 and has been working to make this critical region greener, more inclusive, and climate resilient. And this session becomes all the more important for me as I hold the portfolio of entrepreneurship in ICIMOD and taking this, carrying this flag all across HKH to support entrepreneurs and small businesses. Climate is a big risk for the businesses. Climate change impacts the mountains and HKH are very substantial. Then we were also looking at the increased vulnerability that are affected by water availability, ecosystem services, agriculture productions, and extreme weather is causing flash flood, landslide, and debris. Climate change is likely to have serious impact in next decade in the mountains within HKH and other areas as well. By 2050, mountain temperature across the region is going to be like more than 2 degrees on an average, uh, which has a very huge impact, more so in the higher elevations. Frequent disaster is going to be more. So as a mother of 10 years old, when my son is going to be 35, I would, by 2050, what is the future would look like, what are the consequences that he has to bear? So I think for me it's so important to look into how do I protect him. So now it's not just about government or climate advocates who's going to talk about climate change. It's our problem. It's every household problem. It's every business's problem. So while I put on an entrepreneur's hat and I look for solutions for this triple climate planetary crisis, and to make this planet more green, resilient, and inclusive for future generations, I also look at mountain communities. If I'm so vulnerable, how would those communities in the mountains be who are marginalized in so many aspects, the fragility, marginality, diversity, inaccessibility, all these mountain specificities are impacting them and the businesses that they are into, and the lives and livelihood. So the increasing disruptions are going to be really difficult for the businesses as well in the mountains. So, well, this time, who is going to talk about those small businesses who are facing these climate impacts in and day out businesses? So, for businesses to be future proof in terms of their operations, business needs to be agile and adaptive and become climate resilient. This session will highlight more on those issues and challenges businesses are facing and the solutions that we've come forward with in collaborations with various partners that we have, and to bring life to those big ideas of the small businesses. With this, I would really like to go on with our panelists. I'm so fortunate to be working with all of them together with the same vision and value that I just talked about. So, to make all these small business climate resilient, how do we support them? So we have all these incubation centers who's trying their level best in order to support these small businesses and startups and youth in these mountain areas to make them more resilient. Without much ado, let me get into the introduction of our speakers, and I would like to thank all of them for giving their time and also preparing for this session. First, I would like to introduce Samanata Thapa, co-founder and head of programs at Startup Discovery Asia. She a sister company of Startup Discovery School in UK and Africa. She has designed inclusive and accessible programs and incubation programs for early stage startups, medium, small, and micro enterprises, and civil society organizations in Nepal. She has coached and mentored local businesses, organizations working in the field of climate, technology, STEM, which is like, science, technology, engineering, and mechanization, agriculture, fashion, tourism, renewable energy, health, and education. Beyond her role as Samantha is also a co-founder of Hausala Creatives, serves as a board member of We United, and also a youth innovation advisor to the Lalitpur municipality. I am so glad and honored to have her here, and welcome, Samantha. Now I would also like to invite and or introduce our second panelist, who is Kawsar, Executive Director of Build Bangladesh. Build Bangladesh, he has an experience of about 11 years serving organizations like United Nations Management and Investment Consultancies, and as well as the Internet Telecom, Startup Accelerator, and Impact Investment. He has mentored and supported Bangladeshi startup for about last 4 years. Until date, he has helped to raise investment of total of 1.42 million from local sources, which is incredible. And he also guides startups with strategy mapping, brand, marketing strategy, and investment readiness. He firmly believes that following the West for startup industry directly and roadmap will only derail the country's startup movement. So we should look into what our entrepreneurs, our local leader truly needs, and he is really supporting that drive in the country. And I would really like to thank him for his time as well, and welcome to this to this session. This is the first session, and we're very, very excited to run this session with you. With this, I would also like to invite Adnan Faisal, CEO of ScaleX. We've been working with Adnan for about 3 years now, and I really loved his concept of climate innovation hub. Adnan is a founder and CEO of ScaleX and has extensive background in technology entrepreneurship and investment on a global scale. He was also the head of technology incubator at NUST, Pakistan's top technology university, and previously a hedge fund manager of global technology investment, as well as successful startup founder. He is an angel investor in numerous technology startups and also consults the investment to the technology sector. Adnan, thank you so much for joining us here, and we look forward to your advices and expertise and sharing of your experiences. Finally, we have Gerrit, who is the director of World Startup. Together with World Startup, ICIMOD has been working on building the network of line organization to really support the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Hindu Kush Himalaya. And we've got all all incubators in this ecosystem come together for a shared vision. And thank you so much, Gerrit, for leading the alliance that we have created, which I'm sure you're going to share a little more about the alliance that we have formed and what we plan to do through those alliance. He is dedicated to supporting the most promising impact driven startups. World Startup believes an inclusive and regenerative economy is the way forward for sustainable future. The goal is to catalyze positive growth in every corner of the world by promoting the power of collaborations and the beauty of equity. Gerrit works from The Hague, Impact City, the Netherlands, a city embracing the urgency of climate change, biodiversity, and equitable society. With this, I would really like to thank all of you, and also be also all the best for all of us, because this is a very important session, and we should be talking about climate resilient businesses. These small businesses needs to be in the forefront in the global agenda as well, in order to support them, in order to make them more resilient, in order to find solutions, and also to promote the big ideas of these small businesses. So without much ado, let me invite Samanata to provide her insight on empowering climate innovation, bridging support and investment for Nepal's startup. Over to you, Samantha.
Thank you, Anuji. Good morning, everyone. I am Samanata Thapa, co-founder and head of programs at Startup Discovery Asia. We're trying to work in empowering climate innovation and the startups by bridging the support and investment gaps that exist in Nepal. But before we begin, before I begin with what we're doing, I'd like to start with a little bit of history of Startup Discovery Asia. Startup Discovery Asia is a subsidiary of Startup Discovery School in the UK, which started in the, sorry, next slide. Which started in the UK, where we build bespoke innovation programs for startups, corporates, and government bodies that are tackling the climate crisis. Our focus is really around climate crisis, where we try to invest, build, and scale these ventures worldwide. So we're working with the government, the private sector, the corporates, and the startups that are coming forward. Next slide, please. So far, we've supported 216 ventures, out of which 45% are women-led startups. Similarly, 58% are led by people of color. And we really believe in the power of inclusivity and making these programs accessible. So far, we've helped them raise an investment of £100 million and £10 million in grants. But this is about Startup Discovery School in the UK. And we've just started in Nepal. Next slide, please. But we also exist in the West Africa, in Ghana. We've just started this year with the Venture Studio, which is again helping climate startups. And we've started this in Nepal starting this year. And if you ask why South Asia and why Nepal to begin with, me and my co-founder, we both come from Nepal, and we thought that what better market than the market that we know the best. So here on, I'll be talking about Startup Discovery Asia and why we're focusing in South Asia market. Next slide, please. Beginning with South Asia itself, almost half of the population, 750 million, are affected by climate change, amongst which youth, women, and marginalized have very limited access to land, credit, and technology to really adapt to the effect and impact of climate change. And that is what we're trying to work with on how can we make the communities, the youth, women, and marginalized communities more resilient to climate change through innovation and by investing in climate startups. Similarly, if we look into the market side as well, 100,000 young people from South Asia are entering the market each year. However, each day. However, most of the youth are still not on track when it comes to education and skills necessary for employment in 2030. So here we're really trying to focus on things like green jobs. How can we stop the brain drain? Because in Nepal, what we're seeing is every year we're losing 800,000 youth to foreign employment, and we're losing the skill sets that can be groomed, that can be really enhanced within the nation. So we're really trying to work into how can green jobs and green employment also be implemented, and how can we work on those skills to really prepare them for the market. And similarly, we call this the year of this decade that it will be South Asia's turn, where we'll see a strong rise in the middle class of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, also talking about the purchasing power and the capacity that the region holds. However, here we also see the women, because of very different reasons, such as early access to education, the harmful norms and practices that are based on gender discrimination. A lot of women and youth and marginalized communities do not have equal economic opportunities, although the region holds a promising rise in the middle class, which means that it is an opportunity for a lot of businesses to really boom and provide and have a cross-border market readily available at their disposal. But are we really able to take advantage of that? We are really trying to work on that by whatever that we're doing. Hence, we've chosen South Asia. Next slide, please. If we were to talk about the climate startups, but overall startups in general, if we look into this figure, what we're seeing is the missing middle. There's a huge funding gap for especially businesses who are in their early stage, who've had some sort of traction, who've sold and made some sort of sales. But in order for them to scale, to really bump up whatever that they're doing, there's a huge lack of funding, especially because venture capitals, equity, private equity fundings, the ticket sizes are way too big for small businesses to really access these kind of fundings. And at the same time, we see a lot of hackathons, incubators who are doing an amazing job. But what we also see is what happens after an hackathon. Is there a pipeline where we're all coming together, all the incubators, all the ecosystem enablers, are we really coming together? So here is where we want to create a pipeline where we do not want to be redundant of what's being done. For example, organizations like Impact Hub Kathmandu, who run a lot of incubators for circular businesses, embedding circular models. But what happens to them after they receive some sort of funding, or are they really investment ready? So we are trying to bridge the gap of investment readiness on how to make the startups that are coming from the region, especially from Nepal, the small businesses, to make them investment ready. So that is where we're trying to focus on. Next slide, please. Our priority sectors, we're focused on climate startups, but we're quite sector agnostic when it comes within the climate sector. Hence, food systems, manufacturing, electric mobility, water and sanitation, digitization for climate change, circular and clean energy, and disaster preparedness and responses are the main priority sectors and the kind of startups that we're working with at the moment. Next slide, please. Our ongoing community activities currently involve the climate champion competition, where we try to find where do we really have a pipeline to make them investment ready. Next slide, please. We're providing free office hours to help them with business support programs, hosting community mixers to really bring the climate startup ecosystem together. And we've just started the Alpha Angels, a community to start angel investment for climate startups, solely for climate startups who are working along these sectors. Similarly, we're also starting an angel investment course to really help angel investors, potential investors, to learn what it is to invest. So those are the community activities that we're currently doing. This is my team. Next slide, please. We're a 3-woman team at the moment, all based in Nepal. Yes, that's us. Thank you so much, Anuji.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Great. I think it's really wonderful. We will have question answer sessions later, and then I'll come back to you with the question answers. Right on time. My alarm just went off. So thank you so much for being on time as well. And of course, investment readiness for climate startup is something so important a topic. And I think it's very important that we look at these startup and then scaling and growing, not just as small businesses, but also as a change agent for the society and the problems that we're going to face due to climate. So thank you so much for bringing all these aspects together, and also bringing the ecosystem and the network aspect into this dialogue, because it's also a very important aspect, and ICIMOD has been very, very keen in terms of developing this network and ecosystem players, bringing them all together so that we can have a larger and stronger voice in coming years and days to come. With that, I would then like to go to Irad. I think just to the climate action work that you've done, and Bangladesh has been hardest hit by climate change, and water has been such a big issue for Bangladesh, and ICIMOD has been working in Bangladesh, and we know the problems there, with too much and too little water aspect always haunting Bangladesh. So let us hear from Irad in terms of what are those innovative climate actions that you are into. Share us your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuji. Next slide, please. Another. Next, please. Yes. Thank you. Build Bangladesh, we are an impact investment company who focuses on developing the pipeline for the investments. So one of our focuses is climate action. But when we get into investment, we generally have 5 lenses, which we call our star lens. We focus on gender equality, climate change, digital innovation, inclusivity, and intergenerational well-being. So with that star lens in our focus, coming from impact investment all the way, currently Bill Bangladesh has 193 startups in their portfolios across 17 industries. And till date, we have measured impact matrices equivalent to 7 million across 11 SDGs. Next, please. And to give a text on who we are an impact incubation and accelerator company based out in Bangladesh, where we are continuously trying to adapt the concept of incubation as per the South Asian norms, because the way incubation and accelerator company thought process worked in the West might not be working in that way in the South Asian context. So there, as a accelerator company, we offer tailored curriculums. We offer access to logistics, infrastructure, mentorships, different types of impact funds, and a huge network of entrepreneurs and corporates, where we are all serving a common goal, which is spreading out the impact investment ecosystem. And we focus in alternative material. This is, I must say that this is our focus for on climate action, because we take in mind that Bangladesh is number 7 in the climate risk index currently in the world. So we are, from our climate action startup hunt, we focus on alternative materials, renewable energy, water, organic dye, affordable housing, healthcare, climate readiness, response, and policy advocacy. Next, please. And the startups we have right now, that, like we said, we come from the impact investment lens. We have seen that rather than going for venture capital funds, regular venture capital funds, which is very difficult to actually adapt to the valuation strategies that they have. So we found that impact investment is the right tool to go with, and we have segmented our startups in 4 parts in the climate action lens. That one is for profit, one is outcome based, one is charity or philanthropy, and the fourth one is very interesting. We are focusing is IP or patents. So for profit, you will see we have Garbage Man, who works in recycling. We have Parky Motors, who is working in electric vehicles. Denim Revive is also working on producing denim from denim waste. And we have Green Dye, who are working on organic color. We know that Bangladesh is the second largest country in producing RMGs. So we are also one of the highest, uh, one of the countries who are also polluting a lot our rivers because of the colors and dyes we use. So Green Dye as a company who comes up uh, producing colors by nurturing bacteria. So that's one of the finest startups we have brought in our pipeline through the climate action lens. The outcome based are more like NGO plus startups who deliver climate action projects against very very less profit margin. So those are mostly outcome-based funds, and they mostly are community-driven and do government contracts. Like Biofuel is focused on toilets. Footstep is also focused on water. Dream Water Enterprise Water. Pop Tower is one of our classic innovation that we are implementing in our hill tracks in Bangladesh, which harvests water from rain and moisture. So I will get to that later more. And for charity and philanthropy, mostly like for disaster response and disaster readiness, we are supporting startups like Amol Foundation and its Humanity Foundation. And we have also gone to IPs, that is Plastile, who are making recycling blocks, tiles out of recycled plastics. The one of the contract that they have won recently is for the port authority, that they are making 100 feet. They are making 21 feet speed breakers for 40-ton trucks. So that's something. And one of the largest conglomerate of the country is right now in negotiation with Plastile to buy the IP. So these are our portfolio right now. We have focused on climate action from Bangladesh. Next slide, please. And We believe and we have understood that without strong partnership across different segments, it is not possible to execute concepts or businesses in the climate action scene. So we are right now partnered up with H&M Foundation, UDP, Young Water Fellowship from Belgium. We have also direct partnership with the Ministry of Disaster Management of Bangladesh government. We have World Vision with us, and for our fund management, we have Impress Capital, and for the PR activities, we have Channel I. Next, please. Now I would like to focus on at the beginning I talked about that as an accelerator incubation programming company, we need to adapt as how this organization will work and sustain and have impact. So this is Prostut, our advocacy company, which is focused on climate action and also intergenerational well-being through Prostut, which in English means ready. We are training our next generation school-going kids how to respond in climate changes, how to adapt to when disaster occurs, and how they should be readying themselves during the mitigation of the disasters. So here we run awareness programs, we run capacity building programs, we also set up governance. Like these programs generate what happens if we do it just for one time, it's just another activity, just another event. So what we are doing, every school we go, there is a Prostut team or a Prostut forum or a Prostut club which connects with the junior schools in the vicinity and keeps running this program. So that works as a sustainability and continuity of the work that we do, because funding here is scarce. So volunteer activities among the community is the thing that we need to trigger. So Prostut is also doing that. And our main focus in Prostut is creating a resilient generation who will, we believe that prevention is better than cure. So that's what we are working on with this, our Prostut activity. Next, please. Till date, we have gone to 45 schools where we have directly connected 58,000 students. We cover 7 disasters, and total audiences who came and watched the program and got involved with the Prostut clubs are currently 500,000. Next, please.
Iran, your time is up, but then so if you could speed up a little.
Okay, one moment, please. These 7 disasters we are focusing, which is flood, like Anuji specifically said, that the 2-degree mountain temperature coming down, that means more water in the deltas. So flood is one of the flood and drowning are one of the most common disaster that's happening in Bangladesh right now, and Prostut covers them specially. Next, please. Our partners, Minister of Disaster Management, Cyclone Preparedness Program, and World Vision Bangladesh for Prostut. Next, please. Few of our photos of the program across different schools. Please note here, we use sports, local sports as a tool to disseminate our knowledges and also our practice. You can see in the left corner, we are playing Ludo to learn how to prepare ourselves in terms of disaster. Next, please. The company I wanted to talk about is Pop Water, which is Prakriti or Pani. Next, please. Uh, this tower collects humidity and rain and produces 10,000 liters of water per week. Here we are focusing on alternative source of water, which will reduce the risk of waterborne diseases, and it is also to cut down the times of women in the hill tracts area who have to go through risky trails to collect water every day. And it is also to be noted that in the hill tracts region in Bangladesh, water table is depleted every year by 1 feet. Next, please. Till date, our impact here is it is a zero energy conversion technology. We do not need any sort of power to produce this water. 100% recyclable materials, 10,000 liters of water are being produced per week. Till date, we are we are providing water to 675 people across 6 villages, where every tower has a capacity of 5,000 liters of reservoir. Next, please. And this is our last where we conclude. Our pop tower innovation has been recently covered by World Economic Forum. So that's a big gain for us from this region, and we hope to push this more in future. So this is us in a brief. We look into startups, we look into impact investment, then we connect it with our Prostut program, which is an intergeneration well-being advocacy program, and then we create our own company like Pop Tower, which not only looks in patent-based technologies, but also community-based water solution and also for-profit endeavors as well. Here I conclude. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you again, for also bringing the solution bit of it, which is very, very important. I was going to get into solution bit a little later, but then you've already brought that aspect into your presentation as well. So thank you so much. I think and at ICIMOD, we're also looking at spring revivals. So we could actually look into how we could tie up as well in that one. And I think making them disaster proof is making them climate resilient, so it's such an important aspect. And thank you so much for your deliberation, and the solutions that you have dwelled into. It is very, very interesting to hear. With this, I would like to then ask Adnan to be ready for his deliberation. We've worked together for quite some time, Adnan, and your work in climate innovation a hub, which you call it CIC, is such an important aspect, and I'm truly inspired by that. And we're also trying to see how we can replicate here on with the work that we do at ICIMOD as well. So over to you to shed us
Thank you,
light on what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Anuji, and it's really great to be here. Sharing learnings across different countries and different domains always, leads to new ideas and is a source of creativity. So it's really great to hear about all this great work. With respect to ScaleX, I'll talk about, the big 2-3 ideas, that we kind of, have focused on, and, so our core learnings on which, we are building our work. ScaleX started as an accelerator, and we strongly believe in, transforming global value chains. So the startups that we were not, climate focused initially. And we started in 2000 with the idea that Pakistani startups, which could think global from day one and provide solutions for the global community through transformation of verticals. Next slide, please. We work with startups, and we have an extreme focus on a vertical perspective to building startups. We believe that founders are leader designers. And when I say designers, the essential role, I would also say much less talked about role of a founder is that they basically redesign industries, and they are kind of forced to redesign industry, because when you bring in innovation in a particular node of an industry, you find out that the forward and the backward linkages to support that that new way of doing things is missing. And then to accelerate the adoption of their own solutions, founders have to sort of add those elements, and this way the whole industry sort of kind of is transformed. And so it requires more of a designing mindset, whereby the whole value chain is kind of redesigned. So we work with this approach, and we have some very successful now globally operational startups. Our portfolio is currently at $80 million valuation. We were at zero in the year 2020, and some of my friends in the panel, they have kind of seen our journey through that, and using this approach, So for example, Polta is transforming, poultry into, we call it, the fourth industrial revolution pathway, and in this manner, poultry 4.0 solutions they have using computer vision and IoT. And then DevTalk is focused on the deaf nation, and is an AI-driven, sign language, which is like, transforming the lifestyle of the 70 million, strong deaf nations scattered around the world. If you could, so click on the next slide. I think some of our startups will. So these are, some of the startups I just talked about. And moving on to the next slide. So based on, so once we were able, and by the way, we are Pakistan's first and I believe only privately funded commercial accelerator. So we are not grant focused or grant driven. We raised, private funding from US and Silicon Valley essentially, based on some of our previous work. And we, sort of spend, our own money and time into the startups, and sort of all our ROI is dependent upon, the performance. So we have real skin in the game, and we're very happy that, we are already 3x, 4x, sort of return position in the past 4.5 years for our investors. So with the comfort of that success, we increasingly felt that the biggest problem the world is facing is climate. And it is now pretty much a proven fact that startups are the most effective tool for problem solving of societies. And so that's what brought us to Climate Innovation Center, and ScaleX has been sponsoring and funding the Climate Innovation Center for the past 2 years, with a focus on basically utilizing the power of private enterprise and the invisible hand. We believe the invisible hand of a private enterprise is going to be the most effective tool for tackling the climate economy, especially from an adaptation point of view, but also in the mitigation sort of side of things. And that's why we call it activating the climate economy to be our mission. Can you move to the next slide? I think I'm also short on time, so I'll go through it. So please. So basically, we think that climate again is the problem is a transformation challenge, and how industry operate, they need to be transformed. And based on our learnings, from the previous experience with startups in ScaleX, we are sort of applying the same approach to it. Next slide. And using this approach, we think that industry ecosystems need to be built whereby holistic vertical interventions can be made. How do we do that? Next slide. And there is a small example. If you next slide, please. If you look at the automobile industry, when it was transformed into the EV revolution, you can look at all the various components, and Tesla and BYD are sort of basically operational in all these components of the value chain. So they cannot be transformed. The electric cars cannot be transformed without the complete value chain transformation. And I think that is the biggest stumbling block. Everyone is working at the nodes. Everyone is working. Next slide, please. Is working on the trains, but no one is working on the rails. So if you would click on these slides, please, so that we can come to the end. So these are some when these are some of the general aspects dimension in a particular value chain, and we take one particular value chain and sort of work on re-engineering them, and then we try to find startups which can fit into the blanks that are kind of identified by the redesigning of the value chains. Next. So this is, for example, for tomato value chain, you could have tomato seed related startups, and then from a cultivation point of view, there could be startups, and then these startups interact with each other, and then all these synergies sort of start coming up. Next slide, please. Similarly, we are working on a sustainable tourism, whereby the mountain region in Pakistan is very fragile, as identified by Anuji. Like the whole of the Himalayan region is, and increasing tourism is putting a lot of pressure on the resources. How we could sort of establish a whole new niche green tourism, how they could sort of then transform their own internal operations. So this whole study is in fact already started, and we have some really great development partners which have really taken a great interest into our vertical focus systemic intervention approach, because if that is left to the founder, a single founder takes 10 to 15 years, and we don't have that much time to transform the whole industry. So we want to have that kind of an intervention, and then sort of inject 3, 4, 5 startups, which can then be groomed in a studio style manner, and sort of accelerate the transformation of the industry from a climate lens. Next slide, please. And so these are some of the example of how we do mapping, and we are working on not only ecotourism but on the next slide on groundwater. So the 4 big areas that we are working on is clean charcoal for energy and biochar, groundwater management, wastewater management, and sustainable tourism. And we are have an ambitious aim of developing the world's first water resource planning module, which could sort of have a digital twin for groundwater resource management, and the wastewater recycling could be embedded into it, and then sort of could become a planning tool. And we just like ScaleX, we intend to develop the whole sort of proof of concepts and initial MVPs, and sort of execute them initially at the Pakistan level, but we will have sort of our global sort of vision and ambition, especially from an adaptation point of view. So with this, we'll come to the next slide, and I think that's pretty much the conclusion of the impact of our approaches: faster adoption, joint learning, shared impact matrices, and these are very portable solutions. Once you do the whole value chain redesign, and if you look at all the development interventions that happen in the developing sector, they usually sort of copy paste value chain approaches from the challenge with innovative ideas and climate, which is an uncertain area, is that there are no developed models already there. So the developed model of solar and EV, for example, they are very easily being sort of transported. We believe that there are hundreds of verticals which need to be redesigned, and if we leave it to the slow pace of natural evolution, we're going to miss all the climate targets, and that's we believe is the fastest way of accelerating this process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adnan. Pleasure hearing you. And then, of course, a lot of audience that we have, more than 55 now, and 150 actually signed up for it, and which they would have this knowledge as well. The idea, the fact that we really don't have time, and we have to have a concentrated effort in order to cater to the solutions that could be there, and bring all of them together with one vision is such an important aspect, that we need to come together. We need to be aligning with various businesses in all verticals, looking at it more from a value chain sectoral perspective rather than one individual or a founder perspective. Very interesting ideas, and I think great work that you've done there, and great learning for us as well. And I think it's time to act as now, and we have to come together. It's such a wonderful message. So thank you so much for that. And with that, I'm saving the best for last. So I would like to invite Jan, who's really been working on the climate as the core in terms of developing enterprise and entrepreneurial ecosystem. So ecosystem becomes so very important, the network becomes important, and climate is I think the core values for all the impact-driven entrepreneurs that you've been working for quite some time. So shed us the light in terms of the work that you've been doing, and over to you.
Thank you, Adnan. It's a pleasure to be here, and also in a panel with some people that we've been working on for a long time already, and it's so good to see their constant evolving and their work on this in this very important space. Next slide, please. I want to start with what we've launched. So World Startup is a typical startup support or an entrepreneurship support organization. We are based in The Hague, in the Netherlands. We started off as an accelerator, then turned our attention more to early stage startups. So we created an incubator. We do open innovation programs. But today I want to focus a little bit on what we call ecosystem development, and to work on that third pillar. We launched the Changemaker platform, and the Changemaker platform is a collaborative space designed to foster the growth of entrepreneurial changemakers worldwide. It's driven by the ethos that profit should serve as means to create a positive impact, and the platform is built by and for changemakers who are committed to social, environmental, and regenerative entrepreneurship. Now, the reason why we do this, because there are so many examples of great incubators, accelerators, climate action centers, as the ones that we just listened to. But what we see, if you look at the numbers, I think everything has to go times 100, both in terms of such initiatives, but also the entrepreneurs that they are catering to, the entrepreneurs that they are supporting. We believe if you look at the current economies, and it should be that social and impact driven becomes a new normal, we need to work with a lot of entrepreneurs to embrace that vision and to be comfortable with working not just for profit, but working for a positive outcome for nature and for society with their business and through their business. And that requires a lot of talking, that requires a lot of workshops, that requires a lot of conferences, a lot of accelerators. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. And when we look at the landscape right now, next slide, please. Sorry. We still see that social impact-driven entrepreneurship is a niche. It's still just a small percentage of of the entire entrepreneurship, but even the startup space. When, for instance, we would visit the Web Summit, which is one of the largest startup conferences in Europe, 90% is still classic business, is fintech or e-commerce, or trying to solve things just to push out more products or to make a certain industry more profitable. We still see a slow adaptation of sustainable and equitable strategies by current mainstream companies. Shell just launched a new virgin plastic factory in the US. Instead they should focus, of course, on reuse of plastics, but they actually build a new plant for virgin plastic. And the impact investment, although it's an active space, of course, and there are a lot of positive and very powerful and inspiring people working in that space, it also falls far behind traditional investment, and especially for early stage companies, which was already pointed out also in this panel, especially for early stage companies, and then especially in emerging economies. So there's so much to do, and I think we should unite and think more in terms of ecosystem. Next slide, please. So what is that change that we are looking for? And it's a change that is on all system levels. So it's on the material system, it's on human development, it's on food system and biointegrity. And you also see that in the panel today, that there's a focus on many different aspects of our lives and many different aspects in our society once you start thinking about impact. And I really like this algorithm by Dark Matter Labs, which is a great consultant network based in London and Amsterdam. And they basically say, well, it's about systems financing, so new financing models. It's about spaces where you can come together and be comfortable. It's about movements for change, which is powered by many. And then you create town halls for system change. And what we want to do together with you, basically, together with the ecosystem, is to create these legitimate spaces and these movements for change, and to really create a ecosystem that enables many incubators to be successful, but also incubators to be successful with way more companies and companies in their community. Next slide, please. So that transition, that transition is about, which was also, Adnan also talked about that, of course. It's not about isolated solutions, but it's about from isolated solutions within the current framework to transformative system change through large-scale prototyping. Because I think that's one of the major values, the main values that a lot of these entrepreneurs, and especially early stage entrepreneurs, are delivering to their communities, is prototyping new solutions. Hey, this might work. This might be interesting to put more effort in. Next slide, please. Next, please. Yeah. So we are super proud, actually, and also happy that a couple of, like 1.5 years ago, we started the Giri Alliance together with ICIMOD, but also with Better Stories, with Lodem Foundation from Bhutan, with ScaleX from Pakistan, which is now emerging, which is now becoming a global community for mountain innovation emerging in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. Next slide, please. And with the Giri Alliance, and I welcome the people here in the call also to join that alliance if you are interested in creating a network of sport organizations, but also government policymakers, academia, and many others, to create an infrastructure and to create an ecosystem to support entrepreneurs in this region that have a mission to work on to work on mountain innovation. Sorry, there are basically 3 things that we're going to do. It's about global excellence. It's about sharing knowledge and sharing lessons among the different participants. It's about actually creating these innovation labs, which could be at an existing incubator, which could be a new incubator, which could be a temporary initiative, but actually creating these spaces to support entrepreneurs and to create a mountain innovation fund to increase the early stage pre-seed and seed investment for the entrepreneurs that are supported by this ecosystem. So this is what we're going to work on in the upcoming years. It starts with building chapters, which are multi-stakeholder groups, which is uniting academia, uniting government, uniting support organizations in a specific region. It could be a city, region, perhaps country, that varies. And I think if we work together, share our lessons, and dare to experiment a lot, I think we could really accelerate the growth of the number of entrepreneurs that are working on social and impact-driven entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. And I'm going to wrap up. So so I think it's important to note that there are basically 2 entrepreneurs that we would like to focus on. One is the scalable, the companies that have solutions that can scale into many regions and that can even become international businesses, but also the entrepreneurs that have solutions that are beneficial for their small communities, that are innovative perhaps in a town or in even in a village, but that can be copied to other communities in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. And I think it's important to distinguish these 2 different kinds of entrepreneurs, but we should serve them both to make sure that we create not just scalable successes by old school, not old school, but centralized startups, but also more scalability through through copy and paste, basically. So this is what I wanted to share here in this panel, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Gerrit. I think very, very impressive. You had me with the first slide when you said why social and impact-driven entrepreneurship is the new normal. You know, it cannot be. That just caught me, and then it's really, really interesting, and the work that you've been doing in terms of really regenerating economies, and also climate change being the focus, and together with you, I think for ICIMOD it is also a great pleasure to be working on these three pillars in terms of global excellence community, developing that mountain innovation lab, which is something we really want to showcase it, because it's also important to have a space, as you said, and also mountain innovation fund finance becomes very, very important. So system financing is a very important aspect that you brought in. So with this, we've got three questions. I would like to take questions first to really look into the time as well. And we also discussed a little more in terms of solutions. So both the questions in terms of what are the problems and challenges and solutions has been taken care of. So first question is to Irad. How do you localize the support of startups diverting from Western perspective? Over to you, Irad.
We do not localize the startup. We have created a system, our curriculum, and what is like, say in Bangladesh, in terms of ease of doing business, Bangladesh is ranked 160 plus position out of 176 countries. So what does that mean? I might have a good idea, but I do not know what my logistics will be. Where are the infrastructures? For regulation, what types of documents I need to file? I need to be, in the end, if I grow, I need to be a law-abiding citizen. So logistics, infrastructures, and regulation clarity. These are the three things. And the most difficult part is, how does your day zero of an entrepreneur look like in terms of accounts, in terms of admin, in terms of operation? So you need to set it up. So these are the 6 things we focus first, rather than getting into business model canvases, value chain design, or other things. We focus on these 6 things first. I mean, it's country specific. These are 6 things as an entrepreneur you're going to need immediately. Then comes the innovation. So this is how we actually channel and support the localized, in a localized format. And I have found that's quite relevant to all across South Asia as well. So this is how we generally support the startup to become a localized based on their ideas. And one other thing we do, it's totally coming from an incubation and accelerator point of view, that we receive ideas, lots of ideas, and we can naturally say, if we call urban innovation challenge tomorrow, anywhere in South Asia, any town, any city in South Asia, I can guarantee 40% of those ideas will be plastic recycling. As incubation and accelerator program, we will be receiving ideas. Only 40% of those will be that. So you say that what is coming and what type of things should be done. So anything like startups like these, which are more like a copycat startups, we also cut them out first. We drop them first. It helps the ecosystem. It helps us as an organization to focus more on people-centric designs. Once you cut off the copycats, as a company, the other innovative ideas, people-centric ideas comes up faster. Because say if Bangladesh is a sufferer of this kind of how should I put it? Like e-commerce. Probably we have thousands and thousands of e-commerce in Bangladesh, which we do not need, and they are struggling in terms of market share right now. So that puts a dent on the future startup founders. So that is how we are working along those 6 things. We focus on first, and then we channel it through our curriculum. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope it really answered the question, and I think it did to me. To Gerrit, how do you involve local communities in the project and capacity building efforts?
Well, that's a good question. I think it starts with these local communities. So it is about what Impact Hub Kapandu or what ScaleX is doing in their communities. So it's not about World Startup or any other platform, but it's about what local entrepreneurs and local support organizations and local stakeholders are doing together, and figuring out how they can create a new economy by creating the new kind of businesses that economy actually needs. And there are probably, we need 1,000 businesses per company, per community. So how to do that is by creating that relationship and starting it together and figuring out, okay, so is there something that you might need from an international or from a national ecosystem that could be beneficial for you, that would make you more effective? Are there certain things that you do not need to learn yourself, but that you can easily apply and then trust in? So that's basically the conversation that you have to, create.
Thank you. We again have Irad, I think. How do you transform incubation to scalable principle, scalable and practical projects for the people in our mountain region while addressing climate change?
We do that through a blended the investment model comes into place. We do it through a blended model, a blended finance strategy, and one very specific tool, that's a baseline survey. When we go to hard to reach areas like mountain areas or riverine island areas, so a baseline survey is the number one thing we support the startups to conduct first. So based on that, we generally help them to readjust their roadmap. And the second comes in the vendor finance thing. Initially, we start through grants or through philanthropic funds. Then from there, we graduate them to outcome-based funds. That now, as your idea is now visible, is functional, now gather larger communities, say target one village. If you can do, if against very specific KPIs, we gave them funds, and we see that if they can rotate the fund, because if we give them say $100, they have to gain a return, generate a return of $100. We are not looking for profit there. So when that cycle stabilizes in the community, then we push them for angel funds or for-profit funds. And if we see that the startup is, the idea is mostly feasible as an NGO plus startup, then we do not graduate them from outcome or KPI-based fund, impact funds. We keep them there. So as you have seen through my presentation, so we separated them. We segment startups in four separate points. That's also a graduation as well for them. That first we look into if they can work with philanthropic funds, then outcome-based fund, then we take them to for-profit, and that's when they become true startups who go for exponential growth and other startup attributes that we know of.
Thank you so much. Now, as we're running out of time, I just have one question for all of you. As an incubator, how do you make climate resilient businesses? How do you support the businesses to be climate resilient? Just in one line, if you have to give a takeaway from your side as an incubator, what is that message? Starting with Samanata. Samantha, are you there?
think Samantha's struggling with her unmuting.
Unmuting. Okay, then Gerrit, if you can go ahead with it till she figures out how to unmute herself.
One of the best experiences for me is always the awareness phase, where somebody has an idea, they start a business, and then by being part of our incubator, they say, well, perhaps I should embrace climate change, or I should become more social, and I should become more impact driven. I understand that that is actually possible, and I can make a living, I can be successful, I can be successful in my community, and people look up for what I'm doing if that is important for them, and I can be and I can work on something that is beneficial for nature and society. And that moment of awareness, for me, that is the most enjoyable.
So awareness and being the role model. Okay, great. Now, Adnan, if you want to go ahead with your one.
Yeah, sure. So, I touched upon our focus of sort of vertical approach, and within that is what is embedded is sort of we believe the primacy of domain depth. So for us, I think going deep into the domain and encouraging sort of entrepreneurs and other players to go deeper into the domain is very, very important. And in fact, awareness and sensitization on this very concept is very important. So we have 5 levels of domain depth, and we believe that many of the founders, entrepreneurs think, even I'm afraid, even some of the investors, at least in the Pakistani context, they, sort of for them, the first or second level is good enough, and they are not even aware of the third level or the fourth level. The very first level is, say, secondary information research from internet and, reading about stuff and participating in, panels and conferences and stuff. The second level is, I call it the first 20%. The second one is, where you sort of start reading white papers, and the faculty or university faculty, working in that particular domain and area, you interact with them and you learn from them. So that's the theoretical, knowledge, and they're not good practitioners. The third level is then, operating at the practitioner level, whereby people in that industry, you can kind of engage with them and interact with them. Otherwise, before that, you don't even have their language. And the fourth level is the top level practitioners, like, practitioners, but on a level of excellence, when you can, engage with them and have a very engaging dialogue with them and stuff. And even only after that, the innovation zone, the final zone, happens, whereby only then, once you have crossed the level of, having very effective communication, the ability to have effective communication and dialogues with top practitioners in a particular domain, only then, you can kind of, be qualified and capable to do some innovation, kind of work. So that takes time. And this journey, sort of a founder has to be aware of, this target and goal of, getting to that level of excellence.
Thank you so much. It describes the role of an incubator to really make businesses climate resilient. And then it's very important that each of them goes deeper into the problem to understand and bring that innovation and solutions. Samantha, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, sorry, I struggled with that a little earlier. I really think it's for businesses to be resilient, they have to be adaptive. And in order to be adaptive, there's this whole empathy factor to it, which comes with the whole human-centered design, with the changing environment, with the changing market. How can we relate to that? So I really think that for businesses to be resilient, it is at the heart of the empathy of who are our users. Are we making products and services that are accessible or not? Are we testing it in the market and really understanding what's happening around us? And that can really help us innovate and come up with solutions that are not directly replicated, but also localized to the local context as well. And I think that is how incubators can support and create that safe space for entrepreneurs and enterprises to test, fail, iterate, and make the changes that are required for them to really be adaptive and resilient. I think that's the work that the incubators do, and that's the mindset that the entrepreneurs need to have.
Absolutely. How beautifully put on. Thank you so much, Samantha. I think the idea about human-centric design is very, very important. And we've been together with Impact Hub working on this aspect as well. And empathy becomes one of the major problem solver, as we call entrepreneurs, the basis for them to work on the innovation. So thank you so much. Last but not the least, Erad, if you have any 2 cents to give us in about one line.
Sure, thank you. I would rather say from an incubation's point that what type of activities or what the founders, what we should look into the founders probably, and what type of supports we should give. I think we need a on-field founder. By on-field, I mean that at least 120 days on the field. If that founder is there 120 days at least, the climate action startup will not prevail, never have the empathy, never understand the community. Then product, it has to be a product-based, service-based climate action. I'm not sure whether it would survive or not. So product-based, and South Asian climate action startups should look for patents, patent-worthy products. That's the thing we should be aiming for. And the fourth one would be blended finance approach to sustain their growth and sustain the incubation programs as well. So a blended finance approach would actually help both sides. These are my 4 points: that on-field founder, product focus, the product must have a patent focus, then it's worthy investing or going in big, and blended finance. Probably these are the 4 things that a climate action startup ecosystem should be looking into.
Thank you so much indeed. These 4 points are very, very important. And lastly, blended financing is something that would actually make them survive a little as they are struggling with ideas. And then they can get more investment later, but blended finance it is. Samantha, we also have one question to you in our chat box where it says, how do you plan to keep keep the youth in Nepal? Do you think the SAARC countries can work together to build Southeast Asia as a new powerhouse of the world?
Yes, I'm taking a minute to actually answer that. Reading it, really processing. How do you plan to keep the youths in Nepal? Do you think SAARC countries? Yes, absolutely. I think some of the challenges that we keep on hearing in a lot of incubators, speaking to a lot of friends in the who are running incubators, is also why should we invest in youth ideas if they're leaving? Like, you invest in a certain idea and the next year they're already on their way to study abroad or work abroad, for example. But I think that is how we're trying to, at least the youth entrepreneurs that we're talking about. Hence, it should also involve generating new skills, enhancing their skills. For example, a lot of EVs are coming in. A lot of people are buying EVs. But what does the secondary infrastructure and market look like? So here we're talking about green skills and green jobs that the youth from different walks of life can actually have within the country. So we're also looking into those kinds of aspects, of really investing into maybe service, education sector who are trying to tackle climate change. But at the same time, also entrepreneurs, a lot of young entrepreneurs are missing the pipeline. Let's say they come to a hackathon, they have a great idea, but who's going to support them in their early stages? Who's going to provide them with the first check so that they can start prototyping and really launch their product in the market? What happens after the incubator? I think that is also how we're trying to hold on to the youth entrepreneurs who are coming forward, but who do not necessarily see a pipeline. And I think that is one of the ways where we can work together. And really, we've been forgetting the whole South Asian region as a whole. We're still very isolated. For example, we're only thinking about the Nepali market, or a lot of Nepali youth are not thinking about entering the Indian market, which is quite accessible if we really think about it. So I think right now we're targeting such such niche markets, and we really want our entrepreneurs, especially the young entrepreneurs, to really come out of that mindset of the niche market and really target our neighbors who are going to provide a larger market. And I really see that there will be cross-boundary partnerships and collaboration and conscious and with the intention can really help a lot of youth see their future within Nepal and the SAARC countries.
Thank you so much. Of course, indeed, like, Irad also said, there can be climate entrepreneur visa that can be available for the entrepreneurs to come across in all countries and work together within SAARC nation. Great ideas. And I think, of course, we are the market now. And I think we should look at ourselves within the region as our market. We don't really have to go anywhere else. So with that, I would like to end the session and thank each and every one of you for giving your time and insights and invaluable advices and the solutions that you have. And as an incubator, we've learned quite a lot, and there is a big role for an incubator to nurture, to mentor, and to take these small businesses with big ideas to a different level. So you all have done a tremendous job, and hats off to you, and a big round of applause to all of you for the work that you've done in the region and for the Hindu Kush Himalayas as well, and in South Asia. With that, I would like to hand it over to Sucharita. If you could come in, I think there is another session on Venture Studio debate. Is South Asia ready at 3 p.m.? And also I would like to thank you for giving us the platform, giving ICIMOD the platform to really bring our partners on board and share the knowledge that we have generated. And thank you so much for being with us throughout this journey. And we like to be in your network more often and learn from you better and more in future as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. The pleasure is ours. Like I've said, I hope this is the beginning of conversations. I hope folks who joined us today will join us for the other sessions. This is one of the beauties of the virtual mode, where we can make this kind of knowledge, which is quite rare, more accessible. So look forward to seeing you all on the other sessions, but more importantly, continuing to work with you over the course of next few years to build out these ecosystems that each of you are working in. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you on the other sessions. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. It was a pleasure. You. Bye.
Bye.